This video is sponsored by Yellow Images. Hey guys, what's up? I am Nikhil from dopemotions.com and welcome to this very first Figma tutorial on the channel. In this video, we will be recreating this broken link UI design made by Sweetshapes. You can check out his dribble profile. I have mentioned the link in the description below. Now, if you are not familiar with using Figma, you don't need to worry because this tutorial is focused towards beginners. So we will also go through the layout and the workspace in Figma, and that will be very helpful if you are very new to Figma. And by the end of this video, you will not only be able to use Figma but also create a nice and clean broken link UI design for your own application. So with that said, let's jump into the video and get started. Alright, so here we are in Figma. Let's start by creating a new document by clicking on this plus icon. There we go. Now let's create our frame. To create a frame, you can go right over here. You can click on this arrow and you get two different options, that is frame and slice. So in this case, we want to create a frame. So I can hit F on the keyboard, or I can just simply select this option. And as you can see in the right section, we get number of different presets that we can choose from. So if you are creating a design for tablet, desktop, watch, whatever that you want, you can just click on this small arrow and it's gonna give us different options, and it's also gonna show us the dimensions of that. So in this particular design, I'm gonna go with iPhone 11 Pro Max dimension. So let's just click on that, and there we have our artboard or frame, whatever that you want to call it. I'm gonna double click to rename this. Let's call this frame. And before I start designing my complete design, what I like to do is I like to do a couple of tweaks. So first thing that I want to do is add some corner radius. So let's add a corner radius of 45. And also I like to add some drop shadow. Now, as you can see in the right side, we get number of different options like fill color, strokes, effects, and export. So you can basically click on this icon and search for any particular effect that you want. Or if I click on this plus icon, it's gonna add a drop shadow, which is a default effect that it's gonna select. And in the drop shadow, if I click on this small arrow, you can see we get number of different options like inner shadow, layer blur, background blur, which are really helpful. I'll show you with the future tutorials as we make more and more detailed and advanced videos on Figma. For now, I'm gonna go with drop shadow. Let's click on this icon, which is gonna bring up some more options for the drop shadow. So let's set the Y axis to 0, and I want to increase the blur amount really high just to add a nice drop shadow basically. And let's bring down the opacity to 10. And also we can change the color if we want. So I can keep it something like a nice blue color, that is a darker blue. So something like that. Maybe I'll increase the blur a bit more. All right, so I like to go it this way because our frame, it gives a nice separation for our frame from the background. You can of course select the background and change the color of the background if you want to, but I like to do it this way. So our frame is set. Let's start designing it. So let's lock the frame. And the first thing that we will design is the main center object of the design. So to do that, here we have some shape layers. This shapes works similar to the shapes that we have in Illustrator or Photoshop. So let's select the rectangle tool. I can create a rectangle just like that. And as you can see, it also gives us the properties of that rectangle. So I can change the width and height. I can see the width and height while I am moving or adjusting the rectangle. So it's a very nice feature that it has. So let's set the width to around, let's go with something like 70, or maybe let's go something like 80. And for the height, I'll go with, let's go where, maybe let's go with 200. So that looks good. Let's select it, hit Control C, Control V to copy paste the new layer on the top. And I can hold shift and rotate it so that we snap to the rotation, and let's snap it just like that. Select both the layers and let's rotate it holding shift, and there we go. We can select both the layers and then click on unite. So here we get different options just like we get with Photoshop and Illustrator, that is union, subtraction, intersect and exclude. So in this case I'm going to go with unite. Let's select this and then let's align this into the center just like that. I think it's a bit too big, so let's scale this down a little bit. Okay, that is looking good. Let's add some nice color to this. So I'm going to go with a nice darker pink. You are free to use any color that you like. So something like this one looks good. And also I'm going to add stroke to this. So let's set the stroke to 2 and also change the stroke from inside to center. You also can set this to outside if you want to, but for this case center is going to work proper. Then I can select the shape, hold Alt and click and drag to create a copy of this. So just keep it, let's say something like so. And we don't need any fill for this section, so I can just hide the fill if I want, or I can just delete it by clicking on the minus icon. And then let's zoom in. So I can hold Alt and scroll wheel, drag the scroll wheel to zoom in. Now let's select the pen tool and I'm gonna create a shape just like that holding shift. Click on done and let's add a stroke of 2 pixels. Now if I move this shape, you can see in Figma it snaps the shape or the line to its grid, and that is not what we want because we need to properly measure it and make it fit to the corners of our shape. So one way to do this or to achieve the look is what I can do is first of all move this shape a bit, as you can see. So I'll make sure it's set to something like 8, or maybe let's go with something like 65, a bit more, maybe 0.5. I'm gonna make sure it fits in to the line. I think 2 should work. Okay, almost close enough. So yep, that is perfect. And also I'm going to move this shape to this line that we have. So let's set this to 0.5. Oh, that is too much. 2. Small measurements are very important in this kind of app design because it's going to be used as an app, so every small detail is very very important. Now let's move this. So let's go with something like 22. That is way too much. So let's go with 21.5 and then move our way up. So let's bring that down obviously to 2. That's not gonna work. Let's go with something like 20.8. Okay, so 20.6 should work. Maybe let's do it 55. Okay, so that is looking perfect, I think. Yep, finally. So I can just select this shape, hold Alt and drag it to create a duplicate and also place it right here. Also for this position, let's move this to 0.5, or let's keep it 4, and boom, there we go, perfect. Then I can again hold Alt, drag this, place this right over here, hold Alt, place one right here and place one right here in the center. So that is looking pretty good. Let's make it or give it a little bit of dimension by adding some more lines to this. So I can just drag it, and as you can see it's looking very nice already. You can hold Alt and just duplicate this. Oh, on hold alt and let's just, there we go, looking good. Then I can also select these lines by holding shift and hold alt again, drag them, right click and flip horizontal, and then let's try to place this into the position. There we go. Same, I can do this with these three lines as well. So I can select this, hold alt, drag them right here, flip horizontal and place it just like that. Perfect. Now I can select the complete shape, hit Control G to group that up. Let's call this vertical shape, and I can log that up as well because our shape is ready to roll. Looking good. Now let's build up our second shape. So before we proceed further with this tutorial, I would like to take a minute and introduce you to our today's sponsor, Yellow Images. So Yellow Images is an amazing marketplace of more than 40,000 high quality premium mockups, creative fonts, image 360s and a creative store full of graphic assets like brushes, presets, lettering, illustrations, patterns, textures, UX and UI kits and more. The best part is Yellow Images mockups takes just few minutes to make a real life looking presentation that makes way easier for your design to get approved by the client and will save you a lot of time. They come in high resolution with great lighting, shadows, textures, which adds a realistic feel to the complete design. And just for you guys, I asked Yellow Images for a 30% discount and they gave me 100 coupons that you can claim today. These coupons are limited, so first come first serve. Get 30% off with your coupon code DOPEMOTIONS30, links in the description. Now let's create our second element. So I'm going to select the rectangle tool and let's create a rectangle just like that. So this big should be good enough. We don't need any fill, so I can get rid of the fill. Just add a stroke of 2 pixels. There we go. Now what we need to do is make this shape editable. So let's click on this item which is going to make the shape editable. I can just click to add points and then select the move tool, select those points and hold shift and move them to the bottom just like so. Select the pen tool and create a line on those points, and then what I can do is I'm going to move this, select the move tool and move this to the top just like so. Alright, so we have something like that, and then hold alt and drag this point like so. Make sure you hold shift at the same time. Let's select this line and then delete it, so we get this really nice cube that we are going for. Let's click on done. Then I can select this, hold alt and drag it to create a new copy and make it editable again. Select the points that I don't want, so I'm going to delete this one, delete this one and delete this one as well. Let's click on done. Now I can add a fill. Let's place it into the position I want. We don't want any stroke, so I can get rid of that. For the color, I can select the layer, hit I and pick with the pink that we want, and I can keep it just like that, but I like to keep it at the back, so I can hold control and open square bracket to put this at the back, or simply just drag this below. So that is looking cool. Maybe I'll just bring down the size, so I can select the scale tool and let's bring that down a bit. Let's see, maybe a bit more. Yep. And again I can select the layer and set the stroke to 2, and I can increase the height of this a bit. There we go, looking pretty nice. So our second element is also ready. I can select this, hit Control G, place this into the position I want, and also call this cube. Now let's build our third element. So this time I'm going to select again the rectangle tool, hold shift, so we create a perfect square just like that. And we don't want any fill again, we just need the stroke of 2 pixels. I can rotate this, then make it editable and move this point just like that. So we have a nice triangle. Maybe I can adjust this a bit, just like that. And then hold Alt, drag it to create a new copy. Get rid of the stroke and just add a fill. Hit I and pick with the same pink, and control open square bracket to put this at the back. There we have our third element. Select this, hit control G to group that up. Maybe scale down the size a bit and place it into the position that I want. So that is looking good. Let's add the third element. Let's rename this to TRI for triangle, and let's create our third element. So I'm going to create a shape just like so. Get rid of the fill, add a stroke of 2 pixels, and then add a square again. So I can basically just select this, hold Alt and drag it, rotate it, place it just like that. Get rid of the stroke, add a fill, pick with the pink and put this at the back. So I'm going to create something like a plus or an X maybe. So that looks good. Hit control G again, call this X. So we have our elements ready to go. Now let's add some more elements to this. So I can select the pen tool and I can just create a V just like that. Click on done. Add some stroke like so. So let's move this right over here. I can also select the scale tool. Let's scale that down a bit and create a few copies. So that is looking good. Also, I'm gonna group this again and let's create some lines as well. So I can just create a few lines, hit enter, add a stroke of 2, and I can go into the stroke properties. So I can just click on these 3 dots that I have and select the cap to round cap. So we get a rounded points. You can place this one just like so, hold Alt and place this one like that. Okay, there we go. Go into edit properties and let's make it a bit shorter just to add some randomness. Maybe move this just like so. Select everything, move this a bit, and finally I'm going to add some patterns. So to create circle patterns, I can just click and hold, select an ellipse, create an ellipse maybe around 5 pixels. So make sure you link that and set this to around 5 pixels. Select this dot and let's duplicate this. Select this again, duplicate it, select this, hit Control G to group them up. Let's move them to the bottom just like so. Okay, so there we have our pattern. Let's select this, hit Control G to group them up and change the fill to black. I can also scale them down very nice and small and then place into the position that I want. So I want one right here and I want one right over here. And then I can place one right here. And also change the scaling if you want to. So maybe something like this. I think it's a bit too big, so let's make this small. And yeah. So we are done with the design. Let's go ahead and add our text finally. So let's select the text tool and I'm going to type in file error. Let's place this into the center. And for the font, let's go with a nice Roboto. Let's go with Roboto medium for this. And for the fill, I'm going to keep it nice, a little bit of grayish color. I can also increase the kerning a bit, just a touch, and place it into the center. So we have a file error message. Maybe increase the text size to 14. Then hold Alt and drag this. Let's increase the text size here. So let's go with something like maybe 36 or 24, and make this completely black and go with a Roboto bold this time. Type in link broken and place it into the center. Let's add our subtext. So let's move this and we make it around 18. All right, let's change the para to center and let's place it into the center just like that. Also, I'll make it a bit more lighter. Select this, select the scale tool, and let's scale this up just a touch. Also, I'm going to move this a bit to the bottom, and let's set this to a Roboto regular. Let's set the spacing to 0. So that is looking pretty nice. And finally, I will add a button. So let's create a rectangle, add some corner to this, make sure it's selected, and let's add some nice corner a bit. Again, for the color, I'll go with the same dark pink. I think the button is a bit too big, so let's make this a bit short. Let's type in our text that we want. I'll put it in the top. So let's hold Control and open square bracket to put it on the top. Call this try again. And for the text size, let's keep it around 16. Make it bold and make it white. Now to maintain the theme of the complete design, I can select the button, hold Alt and drag it to create a new copy of this. Get rid of the fill and add a stroke of 2 pixels right here. And then I can just zoom in and let's adjust this. Okay, then I can select this. Let's add a nice drop shadow to this. For the drop shadow color, I'm gonna pick with the same color that we have, probably a lighter version, and give it a nice blur. Move this vibe direction a bit, and I think the blur is a bit too much. Also, the opacity is a bit too much, so let's put this around to 75, and let's play around with the blur amount. Let's see where we go. Okay, that is looking good, I think. Yep. So that is it. Let's finally adjust the text. Maybe I'll bring down the text size to 14 or 12. All right, now let's go ahead and export it, but before that I want to get rid of the shadow that we have added onto our frame. So I can simply just delete it, make sure the frame is selected, and go into export and click on this plus icon, and then I can increase the export size. So I like to keep it at 4x, and you can also change the way it exports, so you can keep it in a PNG format or JPEG or SVG PDF. I like to keep it at PNG. Let's click on export frame, and then I'm just gonna save it on my desktop. Let's call this frame. Let's replace it. So now let's go into Photoshop, and here I have a nice mockup that I got from Yellow Images. So it's very simple to use mockups from Yellow Images. All you have to do is double click and open up the smart object, and then I can just drag and drop in my design. So I can just select it, drag and drop it right over here. I want a plain white background in the corners. So let's go ahead, add a solid color. I'm gonna hit OK, put this at the back. Let's pick the same color from our screen in case if it's a different white. Hit Control S, and boom, there we have a design in a nice mockup. And as you can see, the presentation, it helps to present our complete design to our client, or maybe showcase it on social media platform. A really easy and a cool way to present your design. You can also change a number of different things, like for example, I can also change the color of the case. So I can double click to open that up. So right now it's set to gray. I can make it a nice black iPhone maybe, or a red one if I want to, depending on the look. So I like to keep it black maybe. Hit OK, and get a desired look. Maybe I can also change the background if I want, so I can keep it a nice pink color. And as you can see, all in all, this is a very cool mockup. So make sure you check out Yellow Images as well. The link will be in the description below. So that is a wrap for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, this very first Figma tutorial on the channel. And if you did, do let me know in the comment section below, so that I know that you guys are really enjoying it and you guys need more of the Figma tutorials. Only if I get a good response from you guys about this very first tutorial, only then I will continue with Figma tutorials. If not, we will continue with Photoshop, Illustrator, Cinema 4D. Tutorials are also coming up soon, and After Effects that we always create. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Till then, take care and always stay raw, stay creative. Peace out.